Okay, folks, let's look at AIDS. The current knowledge of AIDS tells us it's an STD. But the evidence that's coming out in the studies that have been released in the last 10 or so years indicates it's more likely a blood disorder spread through sores, such as groin sores caused by HSV2, which is herpes, and hemorrhoids. Now, why would I say that it's pointing in that direction for? Well, there was a study done in Zimbabwe back a few years ago. They indicated that the number of transmission rate, if you will, of AIDS from a infected person to an uninfected person through unprotected sex was only 1 in 900 cases of sex. The average wife, husband, teen, or family had 3 sexual encounters a week. Now let's consider that. What does that tell you? Well, that tells you it takes a couple of years to catch this disease, even from an infected person. So let's change this little story a little bit more. Let's add in the University of Washington study that concluded in 2006. It said 80 to 90% of the people were estimated to have HSV2 and HIV together. Okay, their estimate was it was 5 to 8 times more likely to catch AIDS if you had HSV2, which was herpes, which is a type of genital sore. Now, using these figures and using the original figures put out as an STD for AIDS back in the 1980s, in the early to mid 1980s, of 40 to 50 million Americans might be infected. If you use the 1 in 900 rule that they got out of Zimbabwe study, that brings it down to about 40,000 would be infected in that particular time period that they estimated 45 million. It just happens that that figure works. It happens to be 1 in 900 actually died of the disease and contracted it when they thought, well, it was sexually transmitted, then it had to have been 40 to 45 million were infected, when they weren't. It was only more like about 30 to 45,000 were infected. Now, considering that and considering a 5 to 8 times more likelihood if you have groin sores or hemorrhoids, actually they said groin sores, I include hemorrhoids, which would probably increase the likelihood to maybe 10 times. If we figure that into the equation, if you use my 10S rule and you're watching out and not having sex with if you've got hemorrhoids or groin sores, or not having sex with somebody who has them, then how much can you reduce your risk of catching the disease from somebody who's got it? We have that Zimbabwe research paper or study that showed 1 in 900. Okay, let's figure 5 to 10 times more likelihood to catch it if you have groin sores or hemorrhoids. Okay, 5 to 10 times. Okay, let's take 1 in 900 and times 900 times 5. That's 4,500 sexual acts. 4,500 sexual acts if you don't have either groin sores active or hemorrhoids active. That's the minimum side of it. The maximum side is 9,000 sexual acts. Do you realize a girl in a brothel won't do 9,000 sexual acts in probably her entire career in the brothels? I mean, you wonder why women rarely catch the disease in a country like America. And it's mainly because we have a low saturation level of herpes. It's only set at 10%. And if you include both herpes 1 and herpes 2, it's set at 20%. Or if you go to South Africa, it's set at 66% of the adult population. Big difference. And look at the difference in infection rates. 0.6% versus almost 20%. If you figure it's 6 times more common in South Africa, the groin sores are, you figure, well, 6 times 0.6 is 3.6%. Still not a whole lot. But it's also believed to have started in Africa. They also have monkeys and other ways of catching the virus other than just human sexuality. Well, I thought I would tell everybody about that. Yins all have a good day. Thomas Willis out.